Good morning and welcome to the webinar on preparing for the new school year when you use Fusion. If your school is linked with an MIS system and it synchronises with Fusion, all your classes are archived at the start of the new school year, and at that point they're replaced with new groups. The new groups are already populated with all the students that you need for the new school year. However, what happens if you come in here and you look here and you think, oh, that's my new class. What happened to my old class? That's the one that's got all my resources in. The first thing to say is don't worry, it's still there. When the MIS synchronises with your Fusion system, classes are never deleted, they're just archived. So what you can do as a teacher is simply click here on the archive button to go and see any archived classes. There's my old class, tick that and join the archived group. So now when I go to my classes, if I scroll down, my archived groups are here. All I then have to do is go into that group, click to select all files and folders and choose Move Files. I then browse and go and find my new class, which is here. And when I go into that area, I have the option to move the files here. And that's it. I have now got all my old resources. This is of course a great opportunity to just check that all of the stuff in here is still relevant. Are these files that you're actually going to use this year with your new students, or is there old things that you can just throw away? To delete a file, just tick it and click Delete at the bottom of the page. Once you've successfully moved your files into the new class, you can go back to your old class, pull down the group menu and choose to leave the group. This removes this group from your classes area completely. If you want to avoid having to go and find your old archived groups, what you can do is remove the materials before the end of the school year. So for example, I could go into this English group, select all my files and folders, and I can move them into a folder in my own My Files area. So I go to My Files, I go into the folder I've made or create a new folder and move files here. That will keep all those files nice and safe inside your My Files area in this folder until you get your new class, and then you can move them back in. One thing I can do, if I go to the top level of My Files, there's the folder that contains all of those files from my English group. I could just move those contents back, but what I could also do is add this file to my clipboard, then go to my classes, go into my new English group at the start of the school year, and from the clipboard, just add that folder. Now you'll notice the folder isn't the same. It's got this little black arrow on it. This is a virtual folder. What this is doing is it's pointing people at the files that actually live in your own My Files area. Now I could drop this virtual folder into 2 or 3 classes. Perhaps if I have 3 Year 7 classes, I can just drop the same virtual folder into all 3 classes. And all I have to do is manage that original folder of files in My Files. Because every time anybody clicks on this inside a class, what they're doing is they're looking at those files that actually live in your My Files area. So it does save you some management time. And it also means that next year all you have to do is clipboard that folder again into your new file areas. Now this is also a useful time to take control of your learning spaces. Learning spaces are managed completely by teachers, but teachers cannot delete a learning space. They can only archive it. It's only the admin login that can actually delete a learning space. So at the end of the school year, just take a review of all your learning spaces. Are there any learning spaces that you are not going to need next year, but you know another teacher is? What you can do is go to that space, manage the members of the group, and then what you can do is remove everyone from the group but yourself. Choose the teacher who's going to be taking over this group, in this case it's the school choir. Add them in as a manager, and then remove yourself. Now it's saying access denied because I'm no longer a member of that group. It no longer appears in my learning spaces. And it's now up to that other teacher to take control of that group, to add the students and everything else. If you decide that actually I'm not running the archery club anymore and the resources in there I don't really need anymore, what I really just want to do is get rid of this learning space. You empty out all the files from this group. The admin cannot delete the group unless it's empty of files. So to help the admin and to indicate to them that this group really is empty and just needs deleting, click on there and delete the files. Then you go to the top of learning spaces and you can find there the cogwheel that allows you to manage your learning spaces. So here are all my learning spaces. This is the group that I would like to archive. You can see that I can't delete it, but what I can do is tick and archive. The archery club disappears from this list, but I can go here and view my archived groups, and there it is. When you archive a group, it strips out all the student members of the group and just leaves teachers. You can of course go back and rejoin any archived group at any time. But from time to time your admin login will come in and delete these. So just be aware of that. Perhaps your school needs to decide a time of year when that's done. Some classes run over a full 2-year course. However, MIS systems handle them as if they were annual groups. So at the beginning of the new school year, it generates a new class with a new ID, and in Fusion, the system doesn't know that this is a 2-year group, and it simply replaces the year 1 version of the group. This might not be a problem for you, but if you want to retain a single group that runs for the entire 2-year period, we do recommend that you create a learning space for this group. And also label it with the years. So if the group is running from 2019 to 2021, put that into the learning space name. I'll just show you how to create a learning space for a 2-year group. Go to Learning Spaces, click the green plus to add a new group, give it a name, then scroll down, choose your advanced options. Now there's some important settings here that it's worth noting. The first is that you can select a grading template that you're going to use with this group. So as a GCSE group, I'm going to use this 1 to 9 grading template. You can also choose how the group is viewed, whether it's files, website or a dashboard. You can assign a year group to it. And you can also tag it with the subject. And this means that when you set homework for this group, it will already be tagged with the subject. When you're done, say continue, and it takes you to the page where you select the members of the group. If you do this at the start of the year, the students will already be in a class. Your MIS system will have created a class for them. So you'll just go to Quick Search, select your classes, and it will give you a list of your classes to select from. I don't actually have an art group, but I'll just select another group. I'll select all students and I add them as view-only members of the class. And you can see they're dropped into the members list of the class. And that's it, you've created your group. I can go to the group now. If I go to set homework for this group now, I would set it for this group and not for the class. So if you're the admin login for the school, what do you need to do at the end of the school year? The first thing to do is to delete old archived classes and learning space that were archived a year ago. You would do this sometime before the end of the school year, and to do it you just go to Manage, Classes or Learning Spaces. By default this will show active groups, so you switch to archived groups and you'll immediately be able to see any which are empty and which are ready for deletion. You can just tick those and delete them. Any group that's still got files in, you can click into it and just delete all the files in there before you finally delete the group. If in doubt, simply don't delete the group, just leave it in the archive. If you don't delete the group at this stage, it might be an idea just to go in, edit the group, and place perhaps a Z before the name, just to tag it as a group that was here the last time you went through and deleted. If it's still there the next time you come through, you know you can delete that group. For classes it's a bit simpler, because you know towards the end of the school year that all the classes that are in here were archived at the beginning of the school year. So it's safe now to come in and to delete these groups. At the start of the new school year, this group will then be repopulated with the new archived groups. It's a really good idea to do this every year, because otherwise this archived class list will end up being very large. Another thing you should do annually at least is go in to the user manager and delete inactive users. What this does is it generates a list of all the users who have not logged in for the last 13 months or have never logged in. You can then go through and delete these users easily. If your Fusion platform is linked with your MIS system, at the start of the new school year, you should go to Manage, School MIS. Now this demo system isn't linked to an MIS, but if it was, there would be an option here to put in the date for the start of the new school year. That's quite an important thing to do because it tells Fusion how to handle things like attendance. If your Fusion platform is not linked to an MIS system, just before the start of the new school year is the time to prepare a CSV file of all the users and the classes that they're a member of. You can base this upon existing users. You go to Manage, Reports, and down at the bottom underneath User Admin, you can export all your users for re-import. This will give you a CSV file, and it shows you clearly which columns you have to include and what data the system needs. You can then go through and update all your users with their new classes. The key thing to remember is that nothing is deleted, it's only ever archived. So you as a school have the ability to manually go in once a year and clear everything out, tidy it all up, ready for a fresh new school year. So that's it, that's everything you need to know to prepare your Fusion system for the new school year.